Welcome back to Awesome Planet. Our artists have shown there are many different ways to blend nature with art. From reusing the resources of our past.
My real passion is preserving the pieces of history that can become something else. It's a joy.
To creating beautiful yet fleeting works of art.
You don't get to keep it when you're done. When you're forced to say goodbye, it's kind of like a full circle, and you get to start all over again.
Each artist has a unique way of interacting with the world around them. But they also all have one very important thing in common.
I love wildlife and I love nature. Bringing awareness to the sensitivity of the wildlife is really important.
What I've really done is try to enlighten people over the years. I want to save it for my children and my grandchildren and have them see the same things I saw and see in my lifetime.
By opening our eyes to the beauty of nature, they help us to better appreciate, understand, and ultimately care for our awesome planet.
Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is a
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the What Other Kind of News Dump Will We Get Today edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, Inforum.com on a smoky, hazy Friday morning, 14th of July. It's Friday. Excited about that. For those that run sports leagues or those that cover them, whether professional or collegiate, today is a day some tremble about because it's Friday. And it should be a nice, relaxing day. But there is this out there because it's Friday and we're in the middle of the summer. It's a sleepy Friday, not a lot going on. You know, we got the second half of the baseball season starts tonight, but this is a perfect landing spot if you want to have a suspension get out or a negative story. This would be a perfect. Last week we sat here and said, same thing. Look what happened. That's when Northwestern announced the 2-week suspension for then head coach Pat Fitzgerald. We sit here now a week later. Pat Fitzgerald is not the head coach at Northwestern. And former North Dakota State defensive coordinator David Braun is the interim head coach. That happened in 1 week. We sat here literally last Friday on the show saying, all right, we might be leery here because it's a Friday. You never know in the summertime, some sort of news dump may be happening. And it did. And boy, it got crazy from there. Let's start right with that. Last night, ESPN's Pete Thamel, the first to report the story that Northwestern has selected David Braun as the interim head coach for the Wildcats for the 2023 season. Braun, of course, comes to Northwestern, got there in January. He left the day after the national championship victory, or loss, to South Dakota State. Said that so many times. Spent the last 4 years here, was the defensive coordinator of the year in 2021. And his first challenge, whether it happened on whatever day Monday when Fitzgerald got fired, to now Friday is to make sure as many guys stay on the Northwestern roster. It appears from reading several stories, and again, no one has spoke. I'm waiting for somebody to talk. If it's David, I say, God bless you, man, because this is a heck of a firestorm that's going to be for your first press conference, because he's going to represent the university at Big Ten Media Days here in 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks is the Big Ten have its media days. It appears that plenty of players and parents are not happy at the way that Fitzgerald was dismissed. For those that either don't know or maybe forgot, last Friday, as I mentioned, Northwestern President Michael Schill announced that Pat Fitzgerald was going to be suspended for 2 weeks starting right now. And again, I'll tell you right now, this is the deadest time for Division I football. Pretty much all college football, pretty much all football. We had an NFL quarterback in here with us yesterday. That's the only reason it could happen is because we're in this dead period, basically. So that suspension was nothing. It literally was. I said it at the time when we did it last week. That came out last Friday. Then last Saturday, 6 days ago, story comes out in the Northwestern student paper from an anonymous player citing several acts of hazing, some of a sexual nature, that came out. Saturday night, the Northwestern president issued a statement saying that he may have been hasty in issuing the suspension of Fitzgerald. It was pretty much radio silence on Sunday. There was more confirmation of what this player and another player came out and said. The Northwestern team came out in full support of Fitzgerald, saying that he knew nothing. The initial report that came out from the investigation said that Fitzgerald did not know of the details of it. I find that impossible to believe. You always hear football coaches say, they're in tune with everything. Got to know everything that's going on. And then you can't, on the other side, say, well, I didn't know what was going on my team. You can't. It's not both. I've heard that so many times from football coaches that they're focused and I know every aspect of the team, and you can't have it both ways. And then Monday evening, about 5 o'clock, 5:30, the news came out that Fitzgerald had been fired. And the president saying that it was his decision and his alone. And now here we are a week later, and David Braun's a great guy. We had him on our show several times. He took this job for a simple reason. It's a Big Ten coordinator spot. It is certainly it's an aspirational move for him. We said that at the time. We said it literally the day after the championship game when the story came out. Like, yeah, that's a no-brainer that you go and do that. And he is stepping into an absolute firestorm, though. I mean, this is not how he wanted to begin his FBS tenure. He's worked at, from his days at Winona State to Davis, Northern Iowa, here. And, I mean, this is an impossible situation. And just discussing this off air a little bit this morning and even earlier in the week when McFeely was here, even if they win 2 football games, that is a huge deal. Granted, they only won 1 last year with Fitzgerald there. So if they were to win 1 or 2 games, that considering the firestorm that's around this team, that would be a large win for the university. And then they'll go and find their next head coach for 2024. I don't think under any circumstances that David's going to be the guy moving forward. They open the season. And I remember this now, last night when the story was percolating on this, that Northwestern was selected for a nationally televised game to start the year. Remember the Big Ten, this is the first year of their new TV contract. And Northwestern was selected for a nationally televised game on Sunday of Labor Day weekend against Rutgers on CBS. So our guy is going to be on CBS on Labor Day weekend when the Wildcats play Rutgers. They play UTEP. They have a road game at Duke before they host the Gophers on September 23rd. I don't know. I'm not a great UTEP mind. Might be a chance to win there. Duke's pretty good. Their other non-conference is an FCS game against the Bison, not North Dakota State. The Howard Bison will play in Evanston on October the 7th. They have to go to Lincoln. Iowa comes to Evanston. They go to Madison, and they end the season, of course, with Illinois. This is a huge hill. There's no doubt, and it's going to be a long road here. But as soon as he speaks, and hopefully that is in the not too distant future, we will, of course, have that, whether it's this weekend or early next week. And if it happens over the weekend, we'll, of course, have it on Monday. But it's quite the deal. And again, their first game out of the chute is going to be on national television on CBS against Rutgers. So, again, ESPN saying that David Braun will be the interim head football coach at Northwestern. Real quick, as we get ready to set up our show here, we are your CFL leader. Last week, we showed you a couple of the crazy Rouge play that happened in the CFL. If you remember on last week's show, we showed you the kickoff that went into the end zone that I can't remember was it Hamilton and Saskatchewan? I can't remember who was playing. Saskatchewan was definitely playing. But one of the players neglected to pick up the ball until it was in the end zone. He was then tackled in the end zone. That's now a point, and that was the decider in the game. The team lost the game. That was last Thursday. We showed it to you last Friday. Now, today, we got something more conventional to show you because Edmonton was facing Hamilton last night. I got to say something about the tackling of the Tiger Cats. They're in the white jerseys. Edmonton has lost 9 in a row coming into last night. And the next play is why they have lost 9 games in a row. This might be the worst interception in the history of football. Watch. The quarterback is in the grass, still throws it, and it's going to be a pick 6. What are we doing? What are we doing? My guy Kyle Strecker says, didn't our guy Carson Wentz do this? Yes, actually, he did for the Colts a couple years ago. That ended up being a touchdown for Hamilton, who ended up winning. Now here, this is how bad it has gotten for the Elks. Edmonton has lost 10 consecutive games. They have lost 20 in a row at home. They have lost 20 consecutive. What are you doing? Just go down. What are we doing? That is a CFL record. I got to imagine that might be a North American record. I'm not a great football mind on many things, as probably many know, but if you've lost 20 games in a row at home, that's got to mean holy cow. And that's why when you have plays like that, there you go. Here's the story. The home field, this is from from CFLNewsHub.com. I know, a favorite website of everybody out there. The home field, once a stronghold for the Elks, has now become a place of constant disappointment. The team has been able to break the chains of a CFL record 20 straight home defeats, a sequence of disappointment that extends back to October 12th, 2019. With this latest setback, the Elks have unfortunately matched the longest streak of home losses across all major professional leagues in North America. Their current record is a bitter reminder of their struggle and a testament to the difficult challenges they face in turning their fortunes around. You know what? Don't throw the ball underhanded when you're getting tackled to the rates of the opposing team. That would help. There's your CFL minute here on a Friday. That was 20 home losses in a row. I can't believe they even had fans. At that point, like, yeah, I might maybe want to spend my money or save my money in a better spot. Before we wrap up our opening segment, as many know, the New York Football Jets are going to be the team that's featured on Hard Knocks. A-Raj gave it the sign of approval yesterday, even though, of course, he's been against it this entire time. More importantly than any of that, the Jets locked up their best defensive player yesterday. Quinnen Williams signed a 4-year, $96 million contract extension, $66 million guaranteed. For those that follow, from his outstanding career at Alabama, he has been a stud in the middle of the defensive line for the New York Football Jets. It's the largest guarantee in franchise history. He's 25 years old. He makes him the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. He's only behind Aaron Donald. I'm all right with that. The Jets have two of the highest paid players at their respective positions. Never would have thought I'd say that, in Williams and Aaron Rodgers. He had not been part of any of the voluntary stuff. I hated this part. This is what happens now. He had deleted the Jets from his Twitter bio. I remember seeing that. That's when actual palpitation started. Because whatever Aaron does, it matters not. They need this guy. The Jets' defense was how they won 7 games last year. He did restore it to defensive tackle for the Jets shortly before news of the extension came out. So he was an All-Pro and Pro Bowler last year. Last season, 12 sacks alone. 2 forced fumbles. Going into last year, he had 15.5 career sacks in his first 3 years in the NFL, and he had 12 alone last year. He's due for a big year, and good stuff there that the Jets got him in. Because here's the thing, again, to remind everybody, we're 5 days out from them starting camp. And if you thought the talk was incessant and on national and we're not going to do it here. You know they're my favorite team. When they play 2 weeks from now in the Hall of Fame game, we'll have full highlights, breakdown, everything, sure. But it's going to be incessant next week. I'm going to tell you that right now. Before camp, the day of camp, it's going to be a lot. So much so, I don't think I've ever seen it in my lifetime with that team. I'm 44 years old. I've never seen them get this kind of attention ever. Even when they were a breath away from making the Super Bowl in back-to-back years. The amount of coverage they've had already is a lot, and it's going to get crazy here over the next little bit. We got a fun show coming up for you here on this Football Friday. Coming up at 9:35, one of my favorite people, Connor Senger, will join us. Former NDSU assistant. Now he is in his second year in the NFL. He is the quality control coach on the offense for the Arizona Cardinals. Quite the rise from Fargo to the NFL. He'll join us at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, one of the top returning high school basketball players in the state of North Dakota. On the girls' side, West Fargo Cheyenne's Brenna will join us about her commitment to join Rick Newman's team out of the University of UMary. Newman loves coming into Fargo and West Fargo and getting really good players. He's made a habit of that over the last decade. And Brenna was, I thought, at the state tournament, I called the Class A tournament this year. Of the best players there, it went, Jossie Schiller was obviously number one. She was tournament MVP. I thought, if you look at it, Simon was really good. I know West Fargo didn't make it to the championship, but Moriley was pretty good for the 3 games there. Nisley was good, and she was not playing at 100%. And then Brenna was probably number 3 because she was great in both the games, in the games that were on television, the game they won against Legacy and the game that they lost to Century in the state semifinals. She was fantastic. And I was just editing a clip when Lynette Johnson and I were talking about the amount of Division I players on the floor. So, well, there's college basketball players. There's 5 players. They're going to be playing at the collegiate level. And then Brenna scored, and I said, well, there's probably number 6. Rare that I get one right. But she'll join us coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll also continue our series on the top FCS Spotlight games. We're up to week 5 on the calendar. And we are 50 days out. Today, we are officially 50 days from the start of the Bison football season. We'll look at some of the major questions surrounding North Dakota State football for this 2023 season. We'll do that before we say goodbye on this Friday. We'll take a break. We come back, the Spotlight games, and a very interesting comment made by the former AD at the University of Montana. We'll play that for you when we come back. Hot Mike is off and rolling on a Friday. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning edition of Hot Mic, off and rolling. Excited about the weekend. Not a huge sporting weekend coming up, which is all right. We've got plenty of those on tap. We're coming near the end of the Legion baseball season, and before you know it, we're going to be back in camp. And the crazy part about this, starting next Friday, we'll begin our high school football Fridays, previewing the season. Troy Mattern, state champion head coach at Shanley, will actually be in studio with us next Friday to get us ready, because as I sit here on July the 14th, the high school football season in North Dakota starts on August 18th. So not a great math mind. That's 5 Fridays from now we're playing high school football in the state. We're going to show you the spotlight games for the FCS for Week 5 in a second. I wanted to play a piece of audio that was sent to me last night. This comes from former University of Montana athletic director Jim O'Day. I've interviewed Jim a handful of times when he was still the AD. He's now a consultant. I don't know his exact title. He still has some ties, obviously, in college athletics. And he was visiting on a podcast hosted by Colter Nuanez, who covers the Big Sky, does a great job covering Big Sky football, and was asked on expansion and FBS teams and potential of FBS to FCS. He mentions NDSU and SDSU here, and we're going to play this, and I want you to just listen to this, and we can glean from what he said. This is Jim O'Day, the former AD at the University of Montana.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. I do think that what you said, though, there about, especially specifically Sac State and NAU, especially Sac State, there hasn't been that much local interest, although there's been better local interest the last couple of years. That's what happens when you actually start winning. But I do think that the average Californian, they don't think of Sac State as anything. But if you move up to the Mountain West, not only do you get to play other California schools in the Mountain West, you also get to play all the other California schools way more often. Like USC is probably not going to ever schedule Sac State. If they're in the Mountain West, they might.
They might.
So then, now you're building your brand on the statewide level at an even higher level.
If there is that chance, because you can when you're at the FBS level, Sac State might be able to bring in somebody like a Washington, where they go to Washington twice and bring them in once. Wyoming did that
for sure
a couple of years ago with not Georgia, it was somebody big
for sure.
One of the big. Well, all of a sudden now you're legit.
Right,
you're legit. You're going to probably get beat, but the other thing is they get around those schools, they can save a lot of money in travel. When you're traveling to Fresno and you're traveling to San Jose and you're traveling to Los Angeles and San Diego. Not everything's a flight, and you fly in these other places. That's one of the things I think that hurts North Dakota State. And North Dakota State and South Dakota State, their presidents are actively trying to get in the Mountain West. They're actively trying to get in. And so they're a step up. They've been looking at it seriously. But, again, do they fit with those other schools? And they may not.
Actively trying to get into the Mountain West. That is news to me, and I think news to everybody that has been on this. From what we have been told, that is not accurate. I've asked on that. Mike just asked on it 10 days ago. So unless something's happened in the last 10 days, to me, that's not accurate. But again, that is such a vague term, actively. Well, yeah, I'm sure, yeah. They've done everything they can. What does actively mean? Are they at the Mountain West offices knocking on the door? From what we've been told, they haven't. There's been no phone calls. There's not been anything. Take that for what it's worth. What does actively mean? I asked Matt Larson on this several times. Nothing. And by the way, it doesn't work that way. If the league wants you, they go get you. It's the vice versa. The Mountain West is actively trying to go get North Dakota State and South Dakota State. It's not the other way around. That's not how it works. Like, we're just talking about the Big 12 stuff yesterday. Cincinnati and BYU was fine. BYU was okay. They were independent forever. The Big 12 went and got them. They weren't actively trying to get into the Big 12. Central Florida, Houston maybe. Houston probably was actively trying to get into the Big 12 because they wanted to play Texas. But you know what I mean? So, again, I know Jim a little. I would put a underline under what does actively mean? What does that term mean in regards to what's going on here? That's the one that I would question. We'll see. We've asked. And that's the first time, by the way, I've heard South Dakota State mentioned in anything. Because as far as I've been told, the last time we had Justin Sell on the show, he said without pretty much any equivocation that they're tied with NDSU, that they don't want to be separated from the Bison on this, which is a 180 from what John Stiglmeyer had told us when we asked him, gosh, this was November of 21 when he came on Bison Game Day before the Bison Jack game that season, that he did not want any part of FBS. Obviously, he's not the guy in charge anymore. I would think SDSU wants to be paired up with NDSU. I don't think they want to be separated there. That's just me. But I find that interesting that SDSU being mentioned because they have not. And I think there's a large overture from South Dakota that the Jacks are just fine where they're at. I don't think they want to move. That's just from the people I've talked to. That is not a sense I get. That they would be, all right, well, we're the kings around here. They just want it. They want to be the top dog. If NDSU wants to go, then let them. Question is then what really do you have left at SDSU? You know, who then are you aspiring for? You know, the Jacks have tried for 10 years to get to the Bison. Now they have. And then if NDSU was going to go, that doesn't seem great if I'm SDSU. That's just me. But we'll wait and see. Again, that was and we'll try and maybe hook up with Coulter and see if we can visit with him next week on get some of the lowdown on that. What he's talking about on Sac State too. No one wants Sacramento State. No. Sac State's not going to be very good this year. They had 2 bubble-up years. They're going to go back to being irrelevant of the Big Sky in a heartbeat, in my opinion. Troy Taylor's now the head coach at Stanford. Sac State's gone. That goes back to what we were talking about yesterday and then when we were doing our spotlight games here. Who is going to be any good in this division? We know the couple teams at the top. After that, it's anybody's guess. We'll wait. We'll do our spotlight games. We'll move that to 10:35. We'll do that before we say goodbye here on this Friday. We come back. One of the really neat career ascensions that started here in Fargo. Now it's in the National Football League. Connor Senger will join us. About to enter his second year with the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL. Hot Mike back after this on a Friday morning on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on a Friday morning. WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, Inforum.com. We mentioned Cheyenne girls basketball standout. Brenna Dick will join us coming up at 10 o'clock. We are in the midst of the offseason. We mentioned that college football, NFL-wise. It all ends in the not-too-distant future. There's teams back for NFL training camp next week. Everybody else in a couple weeks' time, including our next guest who is enjoying some golf here. He's literally in the middle of it. He just teed off. That's how he's dedicated to come on the show with us. Former North Dakota State assistant. Now, in his second year with the Arizona Cardinals, the offensive quality control coach. Connor Senger is good enough to join us from the golf course in Wisconsin. Where are you playing today?
So we're at Mosquito Lakes Golf Club out here, about 20 minutes southwest of Milwaukee.
Okay. How's the tee? Where was the tee shot at?
I think we're gonna be in the right rough. It's not as great as I want it to be, but you know what? We gotta adjust. We'll be okay.
That's a typical football coach answer. We got to adjust, and we'll be good. You were up here in town for Easton Sticks QB camp. I know. Describe being back and seeing the. I didn't even get a chance to being inside the indoor, which I know was talked about. I think the things went up when you were here. Describe being back and seeing it.
Yeah, no, the new IPF is unbelievable. I haven't seen it until then, and it's absolutely awesome. I told Ian Dino, the director of recruiting, I said, "Hey, Dino, if you can't land every kid you want in recruiting with this new accessory you got here, there's going to be some issues." So, no, but that facility is awesome, and the way that the way they got it set up, where you can go right from the weight room to the practice, to the indoor, to the outdoor, with those garage doors open up. I mean, it's going to be perfect for Coach Kramer getting everything done that he needs to, and those kids will definitely really benefit from it. So,
I have to ask about just of knowing NDSU's reputation. I was visiting with Easton about this yesterday in the NFL. You're now on the sidelines. How well is that? How well do people know about NDSU's rep in the NFL?
Oh, it's well known, especially what we do offensively and how it can translate to the NFL game. But it more translates so with the scouting department and them asking questions about former players. Cordell 2 years ago, and then now most recently everyone in this draft with Cody Malk and Nash Jensen and the tight end Gindy and Lukey and all them. So the personnel department really has a good sense of it. And then when the coaches start watching the film, getting ready for the draft prep, it really stands out. Not only the guys are with their football IQs, but how they play, snap in, snap out. That it really stands out to both the player personnel guys and the coaching staff.
So for the average football fan, Connor, tell it for offensive quality control. What is the duties in that? What goes through on a day-to-day basis of what you're doing to get ready for game day on a Sunday?
Honestly, my 2 years at NDSU really prepped me to be in that position, because a lot of the job responsibilities are really the same. It all starts with making sure that everyone else's job is going to be easier, essentially. So getting all that info ready, putting in the fronts, coverages, the blitzes, and then really helping getting the game plan ready with watching the cut ups and making sure that the call sheet's right and whatnot, and then getting ready during the week during practice, helping the scout team and helping the other players get ready, and then I meet with other positions. So receivers on their own time when they need it, tight ends, running backs, whoever really needs it, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. But it's really, you wear a lot of hats, which is good because you kind of get to see the whole offensive operation.
For people that don't know, how did this even come about? You were here at NDSU, and then were you searching this out? How did the NFL come to your doorstep, basically?
You can search out. It's more of a somehow they find you, where it's like, I think just the reputation of North Dakota State and the quality of athletes and coaches that they put out. The Cardinals needed an offensive quality control, and I think that they just looked at, okay, let's find successful programs over the last couple of years, and North Dakota State happened to be one. So they decided to reach out. It was surprising. I never had aspirations to go to the NFL, and if 3 years ago you'd have told me that I'd be in it, I would tell you that I wouldn't believe you. But it's just one of those things where if you keep your head down and work hard, that they'll find you. So it's just the same way with the student athletes at North Dakota State. Being FCS players, that doesn't really stop them from anything. So.
And this past year, you were in the QB room with the Cardinals, and that for people that follow the NFL, they certainly knew what was going on. What was that like? Your introduction, and you've got quite a scene going on with the Cardinals. What was that like on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis?
Honestly, it's awesome. It was an awesome experience, and it's really good for my professional development. And honestly, the people in that room last year were amazing. You got 3 great Texas quarterback minds in Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, and Colt McCoy. And just learning from those guys was a great experience. And then, even moving from Hetsing, offensive coordinator, Israel Wolfork, our new offensive quarterbacks coach, both coming from Cleveland, having a little Kevin Stefanski background. It's really it's a great experience just making sure that we're all on the same page. I'm learning every day, and things are good. So.
When Jonathan Gannon came in, when there was a change for the head coach, were you worried about your status? I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, can you go through that and was like, all right, I might be looking for a job?
Yeah, absolutely. That was it was a tough time for everybody because, they decided to make a change at the top. I mean, everyone's got contracts, but they can just, ultimately it's up to the new head coach if he wants to retain you or not. So, first of all, Coach Kingsbury gets fired, and then you're waiting around seeing who the new head coach is going to be. So that's an awkward time, and you hope it's going to be someone on staff, but it doesn't turn out to be. So then they hire the new guy, and you kind of go from there and go through the process, and he's going to decide based on contract length and position and how he sees the program moving forward, who he wants to keep. So got my introduction with him, sat down and talked for about 10 minutes, and then probably a week after that, he decided that he was going to retain me. So I was one of the fortunate to be retained on staff, which I'm very thankful for. And his energy and enthusiasm that he's brought to the program, I think is really good for the guys, and people are excited about it. But yeah, it was awesome to be retained by him.
All right, give us an update here. Where'd you land on 2? Where your second shot is? Can you give us a little play-by-play where we're at here right now?
So I went from the right rough, and then on my approach shot, I was about 10 feet off the green. So I got to chip and putt here and see if we can make this thing happen. But it's all about competing with the guys out here. We're having a good time, but we'll see if we can put this up and down for par.
You just tell me when you need to hit, okay? I can fill for a minute here if you need to go and hit your shot. All right.
No, it's a short chip, so we'll see if we can get this done. I'll try to knock this in here real quick.
Connor Senger joining us, Arizona Cardinals offensive quality control. He's literally on the golf course as we speak. Hopefully he gets that one in. This is a first. We've done a couple interviews.
Up on the green, so we'll make it happen.
All right. We've done a couple interviews around the golf course on it, not with a guy actively playing. So this is a first. I want you to know that.
I'm glad we could figure it out and make it happen.
All right. Who is the Kyler Murray's there? DeAndre, who is the dude last year? You're like, I can't wait to work with me. And what was that? Who was it? And what was the experience like?
It was definitely Kyler.
Yeah.
He's a once-in-a-generation talent, a very special quarterback. It's awesome watching him digest the game and he's got a great pre-snap idea of what's going on and where he wants to go. But then at the end of the day, if something breaks down, watching him maneuver through defenses and turn what could be a really negative play into an explosive play is something that you see on TV cool. But seeing it happen in person, you really find a way to appreciate it more. And it's day in and day out, just his preparation and everything is it's awesome to be around. So
Colt McCoy back. Just for him, he's been around forever. What is it like to work with a guy like Colt that's played in a few different spots, started almost everywhere? It's like, what is it like getting knowledge from a guy like him?
Colt, I mean, I believe Colt is 36 now. I don't want to get that wrong. He'll probably give me a little crap for it if I do. But just his knowledge and experience of the game of football, I mean, it's crazy. I think I watched him play at Texas when I was in 7th grade, and now just to being able to, it's an interesting relationship of coaching these guys, but you're also collaborating with them on a day-to-day basis. So it's not just, hey, Colt, this is what you're doing and you got to do it. It's, okay, well, how have you done it in the past? How do you feel most comfortable with it? And getting his input on things has been awesome. He's really good for me. He's good for our OC. He's really good for Kyler Murray and just being able to translate things for him. And whatever Colt decides to do when he's done playing, he's going to be super successful at it. I mean, if he wants to go be an offensive coordinator tomorrow, all 32 teams in the NFL should hire him. So it's been awesome.
All right, I want to let you go here. Well, last question I'll ask is was there what stadium or where were you at where you had to look around like, holy bleep, this is for real. I'm in the NFL. What give me the pinch me moment that you had.
Honestly, it may sound like a cop-out answer, but honestly, our first home game was unbelievable. And we opened up with Kansas City last year.
Yep.
And you see Patrick Mahomes on TV, and it's pretty cool. But watching Patrick Mahomes warm up, you're like, oh, this dude is a different cat. And then my Wisconsin friends are going to hate me for saying this, but when we went to US Bank last year and the Vikings were doing the Skol chants, I was like, oh, this is legit. And that new US Bank is awesome. It's going to be awesome for the Bison to open up there this year. It's going to be a great atmosphere. But watching them do that Skol chant, it was also Jared Allen's retirement day. So he came out riding a horse at halftime and all that stuff. You can't beat that.
Well, I'm looking at your schedule for this year, buddy boy. You're in Chicago on Christmas Eve and Philly on New Year's Eve. That's going to be interesting. Is those two words? That's what I'll say about that.
I mean, you take the weather alone in those two spots,
yes.
It's not going to be great. And then you factor in, the Bears are looking to be back this year with Justin Fields at quarterback trying to make some plays. And then Philly, obviously, we took them down to the wire last year, but that's a game that Coach Gannon definitely has circled on his calendar. So, that's going to be a winter stretch that's going to be tough, but we'll make it happen. So.
It's great to see you, man. Have a great rest of your round and last week of freedom before the work begins. It was good to see you early this week. Thanks for the time. We'll do this again, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, Dom. Thank you, and go Bison.
There he is, Connor Senger, joining us from the golf course this morning out of Muskego Lakes in Wisconsin, just south of Milwaukee, I believe is what he told me. Benell would know. We got all the Wisconsin stuff. Benell's not here. We appreciate Connor giving us a few minutes from the golf course, and that's a neat deal. He was hired last year through the Bidwell Coaching Fellowship Program. That was, as you heard him say, he wasn't actively looking, and they basically came looking for him. And now here he is. Already went through all the drama that happened last year, and we saw that with the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray got hurt, and everything that went into it last year. This time we're talking about his contract and how he had to spend a certain amount of time on his tablet and not playing video games. Remember, that was the whole deal. And Arizona had a rotten year, and they're positioned actually. I think they have 2 picks in the top 3 for the 24 draft. They may not be very good. They might be the worst team in football coming up. This might be a long year for Connor there. But he's in that quarterback room there, we mentioned, with Murray and Colt McCoy. That's pretty good stuff. Amazing. He was not that long ago. He was in Frisco, Texas. I remember talking with him before the championship game with Montana State. And he heard it saying that, seeing Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. That was the next football game he was coaching. That's neat stuff. We'll take a break. We'll wrap up hour 1 on a Friday as we roll on. Back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com. All right, wrapping up hour one. Our thanks to Connor Senger for giving us a few minutes. We'll visit again during the football season with him. That was good stuff. When he's not, trying to hit down the fairway and chip onto the green. Hopefully we can do that another time. Now, before we wrap up the first hour, for those that are joining our show late, I want to replay again. Last night, guys, if you can cue it up, the Hamilton-Edmonton, we had an interception thrown by the Edmonton quarterback, which is going to get replayed, I would hope, a lot today, because what else is going on? Again, here is said interception last night. Well, this is the touchdown. The interception is coming up next. Again, tackling optional appears in Canadian football. Edmonton, by the way, did not win. Lost for the 20th consecutive game at home. That's tough. Apparently, there are Edmonton fans. There's about 7 of them there. Here's said play that happened in the third quarter of the game last night. Now, again, our brilliant production manager does everything, Stacey Anderson, telling me in the email, he threw it left-handed. He did. I don't know what he's doing. Now, I just sent to our guys in back, so it may not be there yet. I found one Carson Wentz interception, this one, because Kyle brought it up. This is from, whenever they have it, they can play it, from 2020. So this was his last year in Philly. Here it is. This is bad, too. Now, inexplicable, this is going to be a pick 6 as well. Now, he didn't throw it left. There's another one where, I know the one Kyle's talking about. I haven't found it yet, but there was one worse than that where he's literally in the end zone, and I can't remember what game it was. I think it was against the Rams when he was playing for the Colts in 21, but that one wasn't good. That is not as bad as the CFL one, and we'll find it. I know it because I know we showed it on this program because it was not good. Because I think it cost the Colts the game, which has unfortunately been kind of the staple of what Carson's had to deal with over the last 3 years, and that's why right now he's looking for a job. That's not good. I don't know anything about football. I don't. Everybody tells me that every week when I broadcast a game. But I do know one thing. You don't throw the ball left-handed when you're getting sacked. If there's anything I know, I think it's that to bet the farm on. So not great. And in the annals of bad interceptions, that one's probably going to be near the top. One other football note before we wrap up hour one. I mentioned it is Friday, News Dump Friday. Tennessee, University of Tennessee, is expecting to hear from the NCAA today about its infractions. Several reports are saying, though, it's not going to be any postseason ban will be affected by it because, according to them, the university took swift action on it. So something to keep an eye on there. So, again, it is Friday, so it is some sort. Yeah, here it is. Sources tell ESPN that Tennessee football will avoid a bowl ban among the punishment it will receive today from the NCAA Infractions Committee. The Volunteers are expected to pay a steep fine for violations that occurred under former coach Jeremy Pruitt. He was a not liked individual. Former Nick Saban guy. That didn't go over so well in Knoxville with he being the head coach at Tennessee. One other thing before we wrap up, as a week from now we'll be ensconced in the Open Championship, the British Open. Our guy Tom Hoagie is over across the pond. Had a good round today. Shot 66 in the second round of the Scottish Open. He's going to play the weekend. He's actually tied for 15th right now. So good round today. He did not make the cut in either event. I'm going to double. I know he didn't make the cut at the Open, but I'm almost positive he didn't make the cut at the Scottish Open either last year. So 2 good rounds, 69, 66. So he's in contention. Currently 5 shots off the lead heading into the weekend at the Scottish Open over, obviously, in Scotland. North Berwick is where they're playing. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll start hour 2. Brenna Dick will join us from West Fargo, Cheyenne, about her commitment to the University of UMary and looking ahead to her senior year in the EDC with the Mustangs. Hour 2 of Hot Mic begins right after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike, Hour 2, ready to rock and roll. WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, Inforum.com. Our crack research staff, which includes Kyle, Logan, and myself today, I found the game. So I'm sending it to him now about the interception. We're talking about the terrible interception. We'll show it again after our interview here, but I found it. So we'll do that coming up here in about 15 or 20 minutes. All right, as we are closing in, we mentioned the start of a new football season, and we are still in prime recruiting season as well, whether it's football or basketball. And our next guest announced last week, I believe, maybe 2 weeks ago, about her future destination, which will be in the Northern Sun Conference. In my mind, the top Division II basketball conference in the country. West Fargo Cheyenne's Brenna Dick will head to play in Bismarck at the University of Mary for our guy, Rick Newman, who is a frequent viewer and guest on our show. And she's good enough to join us here this morning. Brenna, first off, thanks for doing this. Second, congratulations. Has the phone calmed down? Was it a blow-up level when you announced, and have things settled down a little bit since then?
People texting me and calling me, congratulating me, but it was all in good.
What was maybe the most surprising part of this whole the recruiting deal? Give me the lowdown on that, and what was like, wow, this is a lot. Like, I'm sure you knew it was going to be stressful, but what was the thing like, okay, is it too much?
It was like pretty stress-free for me. Like, I just kind of went on the visits to just see, like, it was no pressure, but like getting closer to like committing or announcing, it was a little stressful because having to call the other coaches and let them know is definitely hard and kind of hurts, but
it's part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, when did college basketball become a reality? Was it a performance? The coach say something to you? Kenyon say something to you? When did it click to say, you know what, I'm good enough, I can play college basketball?
Probably the second half of my sophomore year. Wing kind of told me that, college is a possibility and I would just have to keep working if I wanted to play, and that's what kind of happened.
So what was your reaction when he told you that?
I was like, really? Like, he's like, oh yeah, like people will call. And I was like, I didn't really believe him at first, but.
So what did it take for you? Was it that, or was it the actual phone call from a coach or an interaction with a college coach to say, okay, I guess I am good enough?
Yeah, I think it was just that. And then it kind of inspired me to like work harder in the summer and in the off season.
To have a couple of college bound players on your team, Maya, Peyton on there, what did that mean to see them go through it? How much did that help for you when you went through this?
Yeah, it honestly helped a lot because they could kind of give me advice, or I could just go to them with any questions I had. And like, because they had just done it literally a few months prior. So yeah, it was definitely helpful. And then Wing knows everybody. So go to him.
If he's watching this, it's going to go right to his head that he does. He does know everybody.
I probably said it.
What about the University of Mary? They've recruited a lot out here, as you well know. What was it that sold you about Coach Newman and going to Bismarck?
Yeah, I love Coach Newman and Coach Lamb, and I just know as for them as coaches, the program is stable and it's a strong program, and they always get good recruits, and it just felt right when I was there.
How much also, Brenna, that there's a lot of local players here, whether you've played against or seen that have gone either you played in the WDA or played against in the EDC that are going there?
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to play with them and not have to play against them. But yeah, they're all really talented, and I'm looking forward to playing with them.
Bergen Kinnebrew comes right to mind because obviously you guys played against each other in the state semis. When you see her, like, what stands out about her? What makes her such a good player?
She's just so skilled. Like, she can do anything. She can be the point guard up to the 5. Like, it's just really special to watch her.
Now, to be teammates, is that one you're talking about? Like, okay, I don't want to guard her anymore.
Yeah. Sure.
You mentioned and you don't have to mention other schools by name, but when you started to, okay, there's other offers coming in. What was that like? I always ask recruits this, so I'm interested in your reaction. When you're getting a message from someone you've never met, can you describe that and what that process is like?
Yeah, like you kind of know who they are, but like it's weird to think that they know who you are now. And it's kind of cool to like get to talk to them and get to know them. But then it kind of sucks to have to break it to them.
Well,
But
the thing is, now you've committed, but you haven't signed. So, have teams still reached out even after you've committed, or is that all quieted down now?
yeah, it's quieted down now.
So, did you have a celebration dinner after the announcement? What did you do to celebrate that you committed? Did you do anything cool?
No, I think I just
Did you go shoot hoops? I'm assuming is that what you ended up doing?
I don't know. Oh, I drove to my grandma's. So that was it.
Now, this time of year normally is crazy. We were just visiting off air with AAU basketball. You got dinged up not that long ago. Describe that and where you're at right now, health wise.
Yeah, I like got rid of the boot and crutches, but I'm still not really like full strength on my ankle yet. I was hoping to be back for our last tournament for AAU, but I just don't think it's going to happen, and it's not worth getting hurt. But I was disappointed that I couldn't play in the two tournaments, but it's okay. Like it is what it is, and it's better that it happened now.
Tell us about your AAU team, and you said it was a high ankle sprain. Is that what ended up happening?
Yep.
Yeah. And what AAU team you play for, and what has that experience been like to play with some other high level players?
So they're a team from the cities called the Minnesota Suns. So I have to travel there for practice and whatnot. But the team is full of super talented and athletic players. Basically, everyone is going either D2 or D1. And just playing with like higher level players or people who are more skilled than me has just pushed me to be so much better. And it's challenged me a lot, and it's definitely a commitment. But I'm really glad I did it because I don't think I would be as good as I am today.
Okay, so what was the wow moment there in AAU playing? Because you're a really, really good player in North Dakota. Now you're playing with outside this area. What was there, an eye opener or a wow moment when you were playing AAU? Like, oh gosh, she's really, really good.
Yeah, I guess like I'm able to compete with all of them. It's just like everybody is just
Yeah.
me or better than me. So it's like it's kind of fun to play with higher level and like have to really compete and work.
I said this, and I'm not saying this to you because you're on the air. I thought at state last year doing the games, I thought Jossie was she was the best player at state at the tournament. Logan was very good. I thought you were right there. Describe how state was. I don't know if your coming out party, but why you thought you played so well at the state basketball tournament those 3 days of the Shack.
Yeah, I was really motivated to play for our 6 seniors. Like I just wanted them to end on a good note, and I didn't want to. The previous year we lost both games. I didn't want them to have to end like randomly on Friday, Sunday, or Saturday.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a special tournament for everybody, and I'm glad we could end on 3rd place.
How much fun was it at the Shack and playing there? You've had both experiences now. Describe what that was like for playing where the Bison play.
Well, it was really nice to be able to sleep in my own bed and not a bed, but it was cool to see like the community come out and support like the East teams and whatnot. So yeah, it was a lot more special.
I've asked Kenyon about this. I'll ask you because you live it. To see where girls basketball is in the state right now. You're in it. Where you see, you saw Maggie and Lily play. You guys played them at the state tournament last year as 8th graders. What does that say when you're seeing 8th, 9th graders, 10th, 11th, yourself, this line of girls players coming through the pipeline, how good it is right now in the state?
Yeah, I think younger players are just like getting better faster and more skilled faster. Because like you said, Maggie and Lily, like they were doing things in 8th grade that I was not doing. And that's really cool to see, like how they were competing with literally 18-year-olds. Like that's crazy.
When you're now at AAU, do you feel like the reputation for North Dakota girls basketball is getting better, or at least respected more when you're out there playing?
Yeah, I think so. Because there's a lot of girls that go down to the cities for AAU and whatnot. And I think Minnesota teams are like more willing to look at North Dakota players now, seeing them compete. So I think it is building a name, but it's still not maybe as competitive as Minnesota.
I got to ask now, as you're heading into your senior year and you have this out of the way, you feel like you're obviously going to be a leader on the team. You feel more pressure on that? How well do you feel you're going to take to that role this upcoming basketball season?
Yeah, I was really fortunate all 3 years to just be surrounded by great leaders and role models. So I'm like confident going in that I can be a good leader and role model. It's just about kind of, you know, games and whatnot and really having to step up in that part. But like for everything else, I think I will be able to be a good leader for everybody else.
Okay, so before you got to high school, like Cheyenne, we knew the rivalry was going to be West Fargo and Cheyenne. Now you're in it, and Horace is there. Is Horace now the main rival for you guys, or who do you? As you're sitting there, who's your main like? This is the game we get up for more than anybody.
Yeah, probably Horace at this point.
And talking about, they got some really good young players, right? I mean, just describe that of what you saw from them last year.
Obviously they were really young and like small, but they were still really like skilled and whatnot. So I think they'll just continue to get better each year.
Okay, before I let you go, I'm assuming he's watching. Give us a great Wingenbach story. Give us one where he just a funny story you can share. You got one off the top of your head you can share with us from practice or a game?
Well, one thing is he always makes up stories to like get us hype, and then he'll be like, I made that up. But really things that like are so real and he like made it up. Or like
give us an example. You have an example of what he made up? You got to tell us.
Like before state, he told us that this reporter was like, yeah, Cheyenne was the worst team to win EDC. And then later he like told me like, yeah, I just made that up to get you guys hyped. Or the other day I literally told him, I was like, you go through like the 5 stages of grief during timeouts. Like you go through like denial, acceptance, like it's so bad, but
that's fantastic. You know what? We have some video of him. We'll have to look for that because I think you're right. I've seen that. That is fantastic. I'd like to know what did he say? A reporter? If he said it was me, I'm going to text him after the show. Did he give a reporter's name?
No, he couldn't say a name, but
that's fantastic. I really appreciate you doing this. Congratulations. Hope you get better soon, and we look forward to seeing you back on the basketball floor in the not too distant future. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. There goes Brenna Dick from West Fargo Cheyenne, senior to be. She's committed to play basketball at the University of Mary in a couple of years for Rick Newman's team. That's good stuff. Well, Wingenbach is on the show all the time. Now we got to ask him on that. That's good. That was entertaining. And Cheyenne will be very good again with Brenna leading the way in the EDC. And we chatted about this when we had Travis Hogue on the show earlier this week for the Lions All-Star games, that, you know, we get swept up in the 3-class conversation. It does affect the upper class as well because, as we know, Valley City and Wahpeton are gone and will now play in that middle division along with Devil's Lake, as we heard. The coaches were both excited about not having to travel to Devil's Lake anymore. On the girls' side, Red River is going to be dynamite again. You know that. The defending state champs, they're going to be really, really good. West Fargo loses a ton with Fowl gone, and she's going to go out to University of Mary as well. It's another player that Newman got. And Mariley Simon playing at NDSU. Actually going to hear from Mariley next week on the show. Davies has still got a lot of young talent. And the Eagles, you remember, won the regular season and lost in the EDC tournament. That's how we end up having like the greatest quarterfinal day in the history of girls Class A basketball this past March. Cheyenne brings a bunch back. Shanley's got a new coach, obviously, and Beth Bumacher is the new coach there. Horace is coming. I'm on board with what they're doing. Now they have a new coach there as well, and Brent Hinson's taken over. I'm keeping an eye on that because they've got a ton of players that are about to break through. Jaden Hale, who we had on the show, a few months ago, just got another Division I offer Was it Green Bay, I believe, that offered now? So she's got a couple of MAC offers. The Bison have offered her. UND was in on it. So Jaden is blown up. She's just going to be a junior this upcoming year. The Donnelly sisters are talented. One's just going to be an 8th grader this upcoming season. It's already starting to get looks. Keely Sunday's getting some looks, who's got some Bison lineage there. So, yeah, we're sitting here in July. I know we're talking about what the EDC is going to shake out like, but Davies, Cheyenne, Red River, I think Horace is in the mix. Shanley's going to be heard from. Going to be really fun to see how this plays out this upcoming winter. We thank Brenna giving us a few minutes here on the show. Okay, we'll take a break. We come back. We will dive into a little bit of the Twins, and we've got the other interception. We found it. I know for Wentz fans, they're going to be thrilled, but yeah, he did it. So we'll show you that. Hot Mic rolls on a Football Friday. We're back after this. Well, welcome back, everybody. Friday morning edition of Hot Mic, WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, Inforum.com. We'll do our FCS Spotlight games for Week 5 coming up in about 10 minutes as we are 50 days out from the start of the new college football season. That's from Week 1. Officially, we're 43 days out from Week 0 for those of you that observe it, but 50 from the start of the Bison football season. So we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. All right. It's a callback here for those of you that have been watching the show the entire time. We always appreciate that. We showed off the top the horrendous interception that happened in the Edmonton-Hamilton game. We've scoured our archives. We found the one we were talking about. And again, we're not trying to pick on Carson Wentz here, but our great director, Kyle Strecker, brought this up. He said, didn't Carson have one like that? He did. We just had to find the right game. It's terrible that we have this many to choose from. This is from Halloween 2021. There it is, left-handed, intercepted in the end. That might be worse. Judges, is this worse? I think so. This is all-timer bad. And plus, look at what the time of the game was. The game was tied in the fourth quarter with a minute left. Edmonton was getting beat by 100 last night. This is all-timer bad. That's not good. That is not good. That's another reason why he's searching for a job right now. That one's bad. Good memory on that one, Kyle. I forgot. I tried to forget that one from our memory, but there you have it. So in the poll question, which one would be worse? I'm voting on the Carson Wentz one than the post. Just the tie. It was tie game with a minute and a half to go in the fourth quarter. There's nothing else that will top that. We mentioned off the top, second half of the baseball season will begin tonight. The Twins are out on the West Coast. Late start as they'll play the Oakland A's for the next 3 days, and then it's on to Seattle after that. And is there any urgency around this baseball team? As they head into the All-Star break, they got swept by the Baltimore Orioles. They find themselves a game under 500. They find themselves a half game back of first of the Cleveland Guardians. Joe Pohlad, the executive chair of the Twins, told the Star Tribune he was disappointed in the team's performance. Used the word urgency. That's never good when owner or any sort of executive is saying that. They scored a combined 4 runs in the last 2 games against the Orioles, outscored 21-4. It's not good right now. There's nothing good on this baseball team. This is from the Star Tribune from Jim Suhan this morning. Private conversations with a number of members of the organization revealed a deep frustration over the direction of this season, given the large cash outlay for stars Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, and Pablo Lopez, with Correa and Buxton spurring the greatest angst because of their poor at-bats and production. No doubt. Their 2 highest-paid players have been their 2 most disappointing players. Now, they've got every opportunity to win the Central laying in front of them over the next week. Oakland's a million games under 500. Seattle is not very good. Seattle's scuffling. They're in the same spot of the Twins are right now. If they can't do it, there's going to be a managerial change. I believe that. You see, these are the up-to-date standings as the second half begins tonight for the Twins. In the first 2 years of Rocco Baldelli's managerial career, of course, now remember, one of them is the pandemic 60-game season, but they won 100 games in 2019, had a winning percentage of .617, and they won the division both years, even in the pandemic-shortened season. One of the top franchises out in baseball. Since then, so 21, 22, and halfway through 23, the team's winning percentage is .472. Not made the postseason, even when baseball expanded it last year. It's not good. When the Twins score 4 runs or more, they're 35-11. When they score 3 or fewer, 10-34 this season. Okay, it's as simple as that, but they're not scoring. if Buxton and Correa can hit the ball, they should score, but they're not hitting the ball. And the fact is that the Twins have traded away, and I mentioned this on my commentary on Hot Mike, and we've berated it on this show, but the amount of young hitters that have been traded away, Arise aside, the Malley deal is going to be maybe worse than the Rise trade. Spencer Steer is already crushing it for the Reds. Christian Encarnacion Strand is on his way. Like, the Reds are one of the top teams in baseball, spurred by that trade. The Twins needed pitching help. I get it. We're sitting here a year out from that Malley deal. I remember sitting here saying, all right, well, Twins took a chance, added some starting pitching. But Malley couldn't stay healthy. He pitched twice last year, whatever it was, twice or three times, had an arm injury, shut him down. This year, pitched, 4 or 5 games. Tommy John, done. Done till April of 24. He's not going to pitch for the team again. Here's from Suhan's column today. What make those deals look shaky at the moment is that the Twins' remaining hitters have not produced, with the exception of Royce Lewis, and he's not healthy either. He's out till August with the oblique injury. That's why the atmosphere around the ballpark and in the clubhouse seemed so tense last week. Logic would dictate that the team's hitting will experience a market correction, and the Twins will win the division going forward. Maybe. The Twins are largely dependent on 3 veteran hitters, Correa, Buxton, and Jorge Polanco. Correa has been horrid, Buxton has been underwhelming, and Polanco's been hurt. If those 3 can produce to expected levels, the lineup could become competent, if not dynamic. I don't disagree with that, but we haven't seen any evidence of that, certainly from Correa. And that's the last thing on this before we go to break. Does anybody expect the Twins' rotation to be as good in the second half as it was in the first half? They were already showing signs of leakage here at the end of the first half. Sonny Gray hasn't won a game since April. Think about that. Joe Ryan has been blown up his last few starts. The last start of before the All-Star break against the Orioles. Yeah, he struck out 10, but it wasn't a clean outing. Lopez has been like a roller coaster. Do you expect that to be better? Is Chris Paddock coming back? Remember Paddock? They gave an extension to. He had Tommy John, what was it, last April? So now here we are in May. He's probably getting close. Maeda? Is Dallas Keuchel waiting in the wings to save him in St. Paul? Former Cy Young winner. They need a left-handed starter. It all begins tonight against a bad Oakland team. I'll just tell you this right now. And Strecker laughed at me because he said, you really expected the Twins to do anything? I should have known better. In terms of, they're rolling what they got. Wallner, Larnach, be damned. Go hit 400 in AAA. You can never come to the major leagues because we've tied our anchor around Joey Gallo and Max Kepler. If they lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland, look out. I'm just telling you. It ain't going to be pretty because the Mariners, even the fact they've been underwhelming, still play well in that ballpark. Our guy Drew Trafton going to be there next week. We're overdue for a break. We'll take one now. We come back. Our FCS Spotlight games for Week 5 of the upcoming season, and we're 50 days out for the upcoming college football season. Some questions around the Bison football team we'll try and decipher. When Hot Mike returns on a Friday, we're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike here. Friday morning edition, WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, Inforum.com. Half hour out before we're out of here for the week. Looking forward to the weekend. We're back on Monday. Kolpak be back with us. Lots to get ready for as SEC Media Days get rolling on Monday. And, then we're really ready to go for the college football season. Each day this week, we have been highlighting the spotlight games for the upcoming FCS season. You can go back and watch our shows. You can do each and every day at Inforum.com. Monday, we did week 0 and week 1. Tuesday, we did week 2. Wednesday, week 3. Yesterday, week 4. Now we're to week 5. Now we're finally to the conference part of the season. These are the games that are going to be played. The final, got a false start. There we go. The final week of September, slated for September 29th or September 30th. We lead it off with a really good Valley game. Youngstown State and Northern Iowa. 1 o'clock on ESPN+. Youngstown and UNI. These are the teams. I got my Valley poll ballot out on Monday or Tuesday. These are going to be teams 3 and 4 for me in the Valley this year. I believe that. I think Northern Iowa is coming. Youngstown should have made the playoffs last season despite them winning 7 football games. I feel like it'd be a heck of a football game there in Cedar Falls of the Unidome, where the Bison will play later this season. I'm throwing in some Ivy League love. First off, Ivy League. Get your teams into the tournament. Second, we got a Friday night special, Columbia and Princeton. 6 o'clock Friday night on ESPNU. So you can even watch the game. If you've never watched Ivy League football, folks, I'm telling you right now, it's good. Princeton had a drafted player in this past year's draft. He was one of the highest ranked FCS prospects last year. Princeton went 8-2 last season. Columbia 6-4 last year in the Ivy. So those two teams, pretty good. And you know what? It's football on a Friday. And I'm sure the Big Ten's going to give you like Maryland and Rutgers. So why not watch an FCS game? Back to Saturday and back into the Valley. Opener, North Dakota, South Dakota State. 2 o'clock ESPN+. Boy, what a way for the Fighting Hawks to open up conference play in 2023. They get Boise State 2 weeks earlier, then a bye, and then it's the national champs. 2 years ago when they were down there, that was the final game of the regular season. UND had a chance late in that game. They turned it over late. SDSU scored go-ahead touchdown. The Jackrabbits ended up winning. That has the potential to be a really interesting matchup to start. All right, we'll find out early on. UND plays Drake and Northern Arizona in its non-conference before Boise. Then it's the Jacks. September 30th, we may have our answer on how good UND is. And again, that may be unfair. You're playing South Dakota State, but that be a heck of a challenge for them early on in the season. The other game is from the CAA. William and Mary last year, a national quarterfinalist, the champions in the CAA a year ago to take on Elon. Elon was a playoff team a year ago. These are rivals, if you don't know that. One in the state of Virginia, one in North Carolina. Elon won 8 football games a year ago. They were 8-4. Last year in this game, they faced William and Mary. This is, again, like I said, a rivalry matchup between these two teams. They beat William and Mary. Only conference loss the Tribe had, 35-31. They get them in their place this year. Elon lost in the opening round of the FCS playoffs, got blown out by Furman. SoCon team, 31-6. So we'll see. The Phoenix and the Tribe, one of the rare games where you get a nickname between non-plural teams. That week, the Bison Open Conference play at home. They have the University of South Dakota coming to the Fargo Dome. That's for homecoming that day. So those are our spotlight games for week 5. What do we make of that? Youngstown, Northern Iowa, Columbia, Princeton, William and Mary, Elon, UND, SDSU are our highlight picks for week 5. And we'll continue that throughout next week. Next week, we'll do 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we'll wrap it up after that with weeks 11 and 12 the following week. Cool. We can kill the music now, guys. Thank you. Couple things here before we can kill the music. Thank you. We sit here 50 days out. And I know people are interested, I think, still on what this upcoming Bison football season is going to be. And just looking, McFeely sent me a link the other day that there are still plenty of tickets available at US Bank Stadium. And I think that's a question we've had in our offices. And I think we're not alone around the area about what is the interest level for this upcoming football season. That's a question. The questions I have are related to the football team on field. Off the field, I'd say, where's interest level at? What are they doing to get people back in the seats? That's a question we've had for the last 2 years, I think. I don't think we've got a real good answer yet. And if this is a discipline, because when I heard about the US Bank Stadium game a few years ago, it's like, all right, wow, all right, that'll be pretty good. I think there'll be, they can get 30, 35,000 people there. Sure. I think there'll be some real interest in that. And that was before the 21 postseason where we saw attendance dwindle for that. You'll remember the 2021 playoff games was Southern Illinois, East Tennessee State, and then James Madison. James Madison was a great crowd. Semifinal was pretty good. And then we went through last season and 2022 home games. You had, gosh, I'm blanking now. Who they play in the first round again? Oh, I'm going to get thrown out of the club on that one. I know it was Sanford in the quarterfinals, and that wasn't good. A Friday night game, first time they had played in the quarterfinals on a Friday, and had, Montana. Gosh. No one gave me that, by the way. Just click. Montana, not great. We thought there'd be a good crowd. Wasn't. Sanford on a Friday, not great. And then Incarnate Word, which, granted, we had a blizzard and half the state was shut down. But even if that wasn't the case, there wasn't going to be more than 14,000 there that night. So my projections on what I thought for US Bank have now been reeled in. And there's still, that's a 65,000 seat stadium. What happens if there's only 20,000 there or 25? That's not going to be great. Not great. Not what they were expecting. Certainly not what the Vikings were expecting, and not what the Bison were expecting on that. Not what US Bank Stadium was expecting on that. It's not cheap to get into that place, I have to imagine. And yeah, Eastern Washington is not going to bring 5,000 to 6,000 people, folks. They're not going to do that. If there's 2,000 people, if there's 1,000 Eastern Washington fans there, I would be surprised. And here we are. It's July 4th. We're 50 days out. If you haven't got your tickets now, and I understand for a lot of people, you can hop in the car and go. And you can make a day of it. You don't have to get a hotel. You could, if you want, it's a 2:30 kick. You can go down there. People do this, I know, all the time for Twins games or Viking fans. I get it. But if you haven't gotten them now, what's the holdup? Is it too expensive? I'm genuinely curious on that. Because looking at it for Vising, it's not that expensive. It really isn't. I'm not here shilling for NDSU. People will think that. It's not. If you want to sit the 50-yard line 3 rows up, yeah, that's expensive. You want to sit in the corner, it's not that. For 4, it really isn't. I don't believe so. If you're that invested and you want to go. Maybe the interest isn't there. I don't know. I've seen our TV ratings. Our TV ratings are really good. So the interest level's still there. Why is it now not such a hip thing to go anymore? That's the our TV and streaming numbers and like the stories we do. I get all the analytics on it. Everything we do, Bison football related, still spikes. Everything on that. So it's not that, but the experience around it and during it, I think that's where they haven't solved the Rubik's Cube on it. Again, you look at the home schedule. We talked about this time last year. The home schedule for 2023 was going to be a really hard sell for the marketing department. Maine, Central Arkansas is not going to get a lot of people's boots knocking on that. And then the conference teams this year are South Dakota, Murray State, Western Illinois, and Southern Illinois. Those are the 4 conference teams. No UND, no SDSU. USD is not going to get it. No Youngstown, no Missouri State, no Northern Iowa. All those teams are on the road. If you said, okay, here's the thing. We'll give you, you're going to have to go play SDSU and UND on the road, but we'll get you Northern Iowa at home. You'd take that. Okay. But the ones you got, and in back-to-back weeks, you got Western Illinois and Murray State. Again, they don't let me in the room to make the conference schedules. I wish they would, especially now because they're blowing up for next season because we know Western Illinois is leaving. The Bison football schedule, as it sets conference-wise for 2024, like if you go to gobison.com right now, as I'm looking at it, that is not accurate. That is not how the schedule is going to be next year. The Bison are supposed to open conference play at Murray State October 5th. I don't know if they're still going to be going. That whole thing with Western Illinois gone. Already the 24 schedule for the road was going to be extensive because they go to Boulder, Colorado, and Johnson City, Tennessee, and you throw in Murray, Kentucky in there, and a trip to Carbondale, and a trip to Vermilion next season. I don't know if that all gets changed. The one thing I was told, and now I don't think it's going to happen, is that the rivals were going to get split up, meaning that if you played SDSU and UND at home in the same year, we're going to split it. So, okay, you could play the Jacks at home, but you're going to go to Grand Forks, or vice versa. You go to Brookings, but you get UND at home. That would be so much better. So much better. And I don't know if that's going to happen now. I thought that was on the table. Then the schedules came out, and it didn't reflect that. Maybe that gets changed now with Western Illinois leaving. Anyway, we're way over. We got to go to break here to wrap the show. But as we get closer to the start of the season, again, I'll ask people, like, what's the holdup? Are you not interested in going? Are you waiting? Is it going to be some sort of rush from August 15th to September 2nd on it? I don't know. Again, if you haven't gotten it, I don't think you're going to go. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll ask about that when we come back on Monday. Was there a large walk-up on Target Field? I didn't think so. I think people got those tickets way in advance. That, okay, we're making a weekend of it. It's Labor Day weekend. We'll go. The Fair's there. Maybe the Twins. The Gophers are playing. That was the same exact scenario in 2019 is happening in 2023. Because I remember the Gophers were at home. The State Fair was certainly going on. And the Bison were playing at Target Field. People made a whole 4 or 5 days of it. I don't know if that's happening in 2023. Maybe certainly not to the extent that NDSU was hoping for. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll put our bow on the show and the week. Get you ready for a busy sporting Friday. We'll do that when Hot Mike wraps right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com. we've come to the end of the road for the week. Hope everybody's enjoyed our shows. We had some great guests this week, including, if you missed it, Easton Stick was here in studio. Steve Lockway joined us as well, both on yesterday's program. Of course, Dick Bramer was with us on Wednesday. Missed any of our shows this week, you can go back and rewatch them at inforum.com, or you can listen to the podcast. I know plenty do each and every day. I always appreciate that for everybody reaching out and doing that. Email comes in as we're talking about the interceptions. I know there are many things to pick on any quarterback, even the best, like Favre, had bad decisions. Not that he needs anybody to defend him, but with the game tied and his line blown up and the screen receiver on the ground, he had little options. I don't think he planned the pick, but it was the best case scenario because if he gets sacked, the game over because of the safety and the free kick. If he throws it away, since he's in the pocket, that's intentional grounding and the game over. At least the team got the ball back and a chance. I understand, but you're in a no-win scenario, I guess. I get it, but you can't do that. Can't somehow get the ball. You just can't. Everybody knows that. You just can't do that. Yeah, a couple other emails coming in there on that. It's the worst play I've ever seen. Yeah, hard to argue that on what happened in that play in the Edmonton-Hamilton game. All right, let's do what to watch before we get out of here. In my hand, I have sports happening tonight. Finally, yes, the second half of the baseball season begins tonight. The Twins and the Athletics, 8:30 tonight on Bally Sports North. That'll be a humdinger of a game with 18 people in attendance, but it's a biggie. As we mentioned off the top, the Twins got to start winning baseball games. Kenta Maeda goes tonight. Ken Waldichuk will pitch for the Athletics. I don't think anybody could pick out Ken Waldichuk out of a two-man lineup next to me. He's got a 2-6 record, 6.63 earned run average. He's a lefty. He's going for Oakland tonight in game one of that, 8:30 on Bally Sports North. Wimbledon continues right now. Once you were done, you can flip that on. The men's semifinals are happening today. Djokovic has already advanced. He beat Jannik Sinner in straight sets. Djokovic is going for the calendar slam. He's already won at Australia. He won the French Open. He'll go Sunday for the Wimbledon Championship. That only leaves the U.S. Open as the chance to do that. Medvedev and Alcaraz are playing right now. Alcaraz is the top-ranked seed. He won the U.S. Open. He's dynamite. I know that's Brad Schlossman's guy. That's going on right now on ESPN. Yes, and don't forget we got CFL tonight. Toronto and Montreal, 6:30 on CFL Plus. It's free if you dare to watch that tonight coming up on the CFL. We got to roll. Thanks to our guests today, to Brenna Dick and to Connor Senger. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at inforum.com. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here on Monday on Hot